of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to adopt the agenda. Councilman Solomon. Noddick. Any discussion, any changes, or if not, those in favor of accepting the agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Item 3A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 26th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second,
I second it.
is there any discussion, any changes, any omissions or alterations? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, adopted. Public remarks. Is there, if there is anyone or any peoples who would like to come forward and have present public remarks, please do so. Give your name and address, and please limit your.
How's it going, guys? Justin Kelly from 31 Lakewood. Happy to be back, and I first wanted to say thank you, council members, for having us again, and thank you to the people of East Hampton who attended today. It takes a lot of bravery to speak. It takes a lot of bravery to sit on that side of the table and direct us. So first, I think congratulations and thank you all around for everyone attending today. The reason why I'm here is to do a follow-up with our last report that we had at our last time council meeting. The major topic being the parcel of land in the process of being developed on the end of Lakewood Road. We gave us instruction to go to the wetlands and planning and zoning committees to do follow-up in our due diligence. Again, I'm a new resident here as of 2 months, so I'm very new to a lot of this and learning as I go. But I attended the meetings and spoke and just kind of wanted to give a report of what we found. In the wetlands, we found that there's been no wetland zoning officer for I believe for roughly 6 months or since Jeremy's departure. So the person in charge of kind of enforcing these laws in any potential wetlands or anything related to the lake and the watershed is not been staffed. So that was the first thing that we found. The second thing that we found when we went to the planning and zoning was shame. We were actually there to support each other and told that if we clap for each other, like we decided to, because it's very hard to be up here. It's brave, right? I'm nervous.
You should be.
I am. You guys are formidable foes. No. We were told that if we clapped and supported our fellow townspeople, we would be removed. And that was one of the first things that kind of alarmed us, that made me be like, well, looks like back to City Hall. And so I find myself again here today just to tell you about a report. An issue for the land to be stopped logging was done by Jim Prue, I believe it. And we were very happy to hear that already in a quick turnaround there was some progress. Unfortunately, I have the disadvantage of letting you know that that progress seems to have been curbed. And as of Monday and Tuesday of this week, there is logging continued to happen on the property. We have recordings. And it just seemed to be pursuing. So although he was issued a stop, it does not appear that the entity at fault cares and is continuing to do it so far. Doing a little research with the planning and zoning, we found that there's a moratorium on logging in East Hampton between October 31st and April 30th. It says you can only do about 500 square feet before someone has to come in and kind of take a look and be like, hey, what's going on over here? I think that was done in like the first 3 days, about 2-3 weeks ago. I have videos of logging trucks just piling out of there. I would say, 500 square feet is no small feat. But that was done in just a couple of days and is continuing to happen. All you hear is trees falling and chainsaws. So I just wanted to bring to your attention that the entity that we are talking about on the parcel of land is still under scrutiny. It is still being logged. He has been asked to stop. And as a new resident, I feel irresponsible for me to come up here because there's a whole another room full of people talking about very similar problems, all of them seeming to stem from the same source, almost like a repeat offender. That would concern me as a citizen and as a council member. So I just want to bring that to your attention, and I hope that we can continue to see progress. I know if you support all these people in this room, they'll support you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Osterman. I live at 15 Lakewood Road. And I just wanted to follow up on what my neighbor Justin has talked about. Yes, this is, let me just back up. I'm learning a lot about local politics, and for somebody to say that at my age says a lot. And for what it says to me is that I'm not a person to get roiled in controversy. I'm not someone to get involved in conspiracy theories and just make a lot of noise for the sake of making noise and disagree with everything. So I kind of let things roll off my back. But when I see something as egregious as what's going on right now up at the end of Lakewood, I have no choice. I have to say what's going on, because we went to the planning and zoning meeting, as Justin's point. I asked them, why does the application, first of all, the zoning regulations clearly state a lot of requirements based on the type of development that's going to be going on. And that needed to be in an application. None of that was in the application. The only thing that was in that application was a buy-sell agreement between the developer and a lumber company as to how much they were going to pay for the different species of trees that were being destroyed. That's the only thing that was in the application. When I brought that to the attention of the Planning and Zoning Committee, and I said, why does these requirements here in your regulations right here say these things need to be done? None of that was in the application. The response I got from the chairman, why don't you go to the office and find out? I said, okay. And then he said, Cheryl, what are the hours? Cheryl was nice enough to give me the hours to go into the office and try to do my own research on something that they should have already done. I was just beside myself. Then the conversation came up about cease and desist. A couple of people were talking about cease and desist. The interim planner had the gall on Zoom to say, well, it seems to me the only thing that needs to cease and desist is the rain. Yes, he said that. So the other thing I'm requesting, you've got to find a replacement for this guy. You have to. I mean, he's belligerent, he's arrogant, and he's clearly on the side of development. And all of this history around the lake and the Everblue report that they came out with last year, after 5 years of a case study, this is what we've done. This is the success that we've had to continue to allow this development. There are skidders and chains. It talks about soil disturbance in here. There's no soil disturbance going on up there. It's soil destruction. And it doesn't take an ecologist or an environmentalist or anybody other than maybe somebody that's got developers in their back pocket to say that when all that clear cutting happens, the rain comes down onto Lakewood Road and wipes and flushes all the way down towards the lake. Something has to get done. And the other thing is, we're not trying to stop this development. We want to make sure it's done right. And this guy's apparently allowed to get away with whatever the hell he wants.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time?
I'm Nick Mosier, 73 Bay Road, East Hampton. Hi, Jack.
Hi, man.
Hi, Dean.
Hello, Nick.
I'm here because I want you to know this is important. One more voice.
I did get your
I'm
letter.
also,
I did get your letter.
I'm also here to tell you another story about the planning zoning meeting. I brought Kevin Kerr a jar of lake water at that meeting. I had just dipped it into the small community beach at the end of Holcomb Street or Road, the opposite of Markham Bay from where I live. And it was filled with whatever, silt, particulate. And it didn't drop down to the bottom of the jar in the course of the meeting, which was long. And I said it right in front of Kevin. It was there for most of the meeting until we changed off of the lake agenda, as a reminder. And during the course of that meeting, one of the commission people, the planning people, said, that's not bad considering what it used to be when they were building the condos up on the hill. And it struck me that, is the bar just getting so low that we can say, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want my kids swimming in that water, but it's better than it used to be in the old days. So I think we all need a reality check every day because the weather's changing, the rain comes, the lake is different every day. And that's important. And the other thing is, I ended up with my phone and my wife's phone. We took a walk before. So I'm in trouble. Maybe I can stay at your house tonight.
The island doesn't have any power, so.
Nick, I can't believe you'd be recorded saying that. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment at this time? If not, we should move on in the agenda. Item 5, presentations, Clean Energy Task Force presentation on sustainable Connecticut.
My name is Russ Kaplan. I chair the Clean Energy Task Force here in town. I live at 127 Comstock Trail here in town. Thank the town council for putting this matter on the agenda. Just very quickly, Sustainable CT is a program to support sustainable initiatives throughout Connecticut. It's a voluntary program to recognize thriving and resilient communities, both large and small. Person who's here today, which we very much appreciate, is Jessica LeClaire, who is the Senior Program Director for Sustainable CT. I will just say about her, who I physically met today for the first time, but we have been in touch with each other for quite a while. She has been a valued clean energy resource for several years. I just wanted to very quickly, I looked at their website before I came here today, and I'm just going to quote one comment, and I'm listening to the other comments that are being made here today. And off their website, we recognize the natural environment as the foundation for the health and well-being of all people and the strength of the local economy. Interestingly, this past weekend, I heard a phrase that I had never heard before, but it really resonated with me. And the phrase was empathy for the future. And I want to add to that, empathy for future generations. To see things from their point of view, to imagine ourselves in their place, and to plan and act as if their well-being is our well-being. By my last check, and I'm sure I may be corrected, 134 towns in our state, I think there are 169 towns,
167.
are participating in Sustainable CT. What I learned just this morning was that Colebrook, Sharon, and Danbury just joined the program. And it is my hope that East Hampton will be next. And with that, I want to introduce Jessica. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. I am very excited to be here with you to talk a little bit about Sustainable CT. So I'm going to give a quick overview of the program. If anyone has questions, I'd be glad to go through that some time. There we go. So if you haven't heard of Sustainable CT, we are a statewide municipal certification program. Our goal is to help Connecticut cities and towns advance their overall sustainability. And we do look very broadly at sustainability. So we're here tonight at the invitation of the Clean Energy Task Force, and clean energy is a portion of our program, but we're also thinking about watershed health, about the local economy, about transportation planning, arts and culture, affordable housing. Really everything that makes a community whole, that makes a place where people want to live, work, and play. At the core of our program, we have a menu of actions that communities like East Hampton can pick from. There's no one-size-fits-all way to navigate sustainable CT. You really have the opportunity to pick and choose actions and activities that resonate with you, who you are, and where you want to be in a year, in 5 years, and 50 years. So you work on those actions, you can get some points, and you can get certified if you wish. So we are a certification program, and we do offer that. We have lots of supports available to help you if certification is a goal. But you define what success looks like in sustainable CT. It could be that you join and you just want to use our resources, and that's absolutely fine. It could be that you join tonight, that'd be so great, and you want to get certified this year. We'll help you. We'll help you get there. We'll help you figure out how what you've done fits within our program and what we might want to do to move forward and build on that good work that's already happening in your community. But you'll define success, and we know that towns, you ebb and flow, things come up and take your attention, and that's natural, expected, and we will work with you, and you set the timeline and you define success. Okay, so I'm mentioning actions a lot. There are lots of actions in the program, 77, I think, last count, and there are hundreds of sub-actions. So there's so many different things that you could be doing as a town in our program to, again, get points if certification is a goal. You can see here, we have 13 different categories. They are quite diverse. So local economies, equity, transportation, energy infrastructure and operations, materials management, all of the things that you're already thinking about on a daily basis when you're navigating running the town. Within each one of these categories, there are a host of actions and then a host of sub-actions. So again, so many different things that you could be doing. And they might be things that you're already doing, and it might be something where you're here on the ladder, but this is the next rung or the next rung up. And we try to build in the different supports that might be available for the various actions, like technical supports, like funding that might be available from different state agencies or the feds to help you navigate those activities. I mentioned the actions a lot. I wanted to give you some examples. We've got agriculture family practices, energy use reduction across municipal buildings, healthy and sustainable food networks, creating those, fostering those, having arts and cultural initiatives, and many, many more. We are a certification program, so if certification is a goal, there are some standards. I'm not going to get into the weeds tonight, but they're here. If you have questions, we can go through them. We follow the Olympics, bronze, silver, and gold. We just released our gold level certification last year. It's very new, and it ratchets up in terms of challenge, I suppose you could say, as you move up the levels. But we are here for you as you move through the program. We want to be working with towns with lots of technical support partners that can help you along the way. We also have an optional climate leader designation that you could do if you wanted to step forward and do more to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions or enhance your community's resilience to climate change and the different natural hazards that we're seeing happening on a more frequent basis. So in this climate leader designation, essentially we have a curated list of actions that will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions or build resilience. Lots of flexibility. You pick and choose what works for you from that list, get a certain number of points, and you are a climate leader. This is a newer offering for us as well. We currently have nine towns, there we go, that have stepped forward and achieved this climate leader designation. It's optional for bronze and silver certification. It can be an add-on. It is required for gold. This is what certification looks like. This is the bread and butter. At the end of it, you get a very nice plaque. They're beautiful. These are old plaques. We've had towns go through the certification process multiple times. So we actually ran out of room on our original plaques. So we have bigger plaques now to allow for more recognition for our towns across the state doing the good work. We have lots of resources available to help you along the way, and you can use the resources whether you are certified, not certified, don't ever want to get certified, but you want to use the resources. Great. We want to be a value add As Russ mentioned, this is a voluntary program. We know towns have a lot on their plate. You have to run the town. There's a lot of things that will come up. And this is another ask. So we want to help you along the way. And if you want to work on one action a year and use a resource, that's perfect. So just some of the resources, we have equity coaches on our team who can work with your town at no costs. All of our services are no cost to you. They can work on our equity actions with your town, or if something comes up in town that it would be helpful to work with an equity consultant, they're here for you to do that. We have workshops and trainings throughout the year, every month on various topics. You can drop in that now if you want. We have an active calendar. Anyone can come and attend those. As we hear from towns of your needs and what you're wondering or how to do certain actions, we try to develop training programs for those questions that we hear. We have many technical assistance partners that can help you. They essentially provide free consulting services. An example, we work with the Nature Conservancy to offer free community resilience building workshops in cities and towns. We usually do about 8 to 10 a year with the Nature Conservancy, and a handful of folks, 8 to 20 folks who have their finger on the pulse of the community come together for a facilitated workshop run by the Nature Conservancy. You assess your strengths and vulnerabilities in relation to natural hazards. You come up with a list of actions that you can work through. The Nature Conservancy runs the session, writes the report. You're there for a 3-hour Zoom session, so that's your time, that's your input. But you get a wonderful report that's a very usable document of steps you can take to build on those strengths or reduce those vulnerabilities over time. That's just one example. And we also have fellows. So every year we have undergrad and graduate students who are based at the councils of governments to provide direct support to towns within that COG territory or whatever you need. And we know the program is big. There's lots of actions, purposeful, so that there's something for every different kind of town. And that means there's a lot to read through to see where what you're doing fits with our program. So we've heard that that's a need. So we've got extra hands, these excited young people eager to help and step in and support you along that journey. They're working full time over the summer. It's a challenge to keep them busy because they're so good. And we're sending out offer letters to our 2024 cohort this week. And I'm very excited about these young people. I think they're going to do great work in the state. So just another resource to help you along the way. And I want to wrap by talking about our community match fund. This is a one-to-one matching program where anyone in a registered town has access to up to $7,500 of matching grants, so $15,000 total project costs for projects that have public good, no private gain, excuse me. And they align directly or indirectly with one of our 77 actions. So you might join the program just to access our community match fund or to get, dip your toe into sustainable CT. And again, that would be wonderful. We would love to support projects out and about across East Hampton. Since 2019, we have invested we're almost to 4 million. This is going to be our pitch over the next couple of weeks to get to 4 million. $4 million in over 300 community-led projects. This could be a project led by the town, by a task force or a committee, by any one of you in this room. You all live in town. You have a project idea that has no private gain, public good, it aligns with our actions. We want to talk to you, get you the money, get you set up. You can see here, we've got this project page, a screenshot, and it's intended to be a grant program that's very fast, flexible, and easy. You don't have to read a 50-page direction of how to navigate this grant, this funding program rather. You write up a couple paragraphs, you have a simple budget, some eye-catching photos, you get your project page up, and we have a partner that will help you understand how to crowdfund effectively. We've seen just tremendous success across the state. You can see it. 2 million of that 4 million-ish, almost 4 million, would be from us. And the rest is from people like you all giving $5, $10, $25, $50 to a project that you want to see in your neighborhood. So it's a really neat way for people to vote with their pocketbooks or wallets and have a sense of ownership. That's my community garden. That's my pollinator pathway. That's my beaver education event or whatever it might be. So we've seen lots of interesting projects pop up. We won't tell you what to do with the project, but we do want to support the good work that people have. You've got good ideas, and it might just be that you need a little seed funding to get it across the finish line. So as Russ mentioned, we do have 134 towns in the program right now. It's about 80% of the state. 58 towns are currently certified in certification in the last 3 years. So we've seen some towns get certified and pause. We've seen some towns get certified and recertified and just keep moving through. Some towns join and use the resources, and that's, again, wonderful too. The towns that have been certified over time since we launched Sustainable CT in November of 2017 have completed more than 3,700 actions. So there's a wealth of good work that's happening across the state. And this map is a screenshot from our website. And if you click on any one of the dots that's colored not blue, you'll see all of the actions that those towns completed to get certified. So if you're a certified town, it's a really neat repository of all the work that you're doing in one place for the public to access and learn from. And it's a great library of sustainability best practices. So I'm going to stop there. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Questions, anyone?
So I just want to ask Russ and the task force that they will be East Hampton's driving force for sustainable C2, assuming we go ahead. Correct, Dave? Yeah. Okay, and just there's some aspects of the program that really aren't clean energy aspects, and you will involve other groups or other boards and commissions that are in those kinds of actions, if that's what we decide to do.
We are prepared to take a role in that on East Hampton's behalf, but absolutely reach out on the departments and anybody in town who says there are things we're interested in doing. You know, how can we get more of the town involved in doing that? So we're ready to step up.
Jeff, can you explain how a town joins?
I can. So we've tried to keep that process fairly straightforward. So to join the program, a town council like yours would pass a resolution, and the resolution text has been provided, I believe, tonight. So you've all got that right in hand. And the resolution says three things. So I'll sum it up for you. It says that you're interested in participating in the program. It says that you'll identify a point of contact. And that is just someone that we can reach out to say, hey, East Hampton, how are you doing? Get you on our newsletter and get you set up. We can add more people as you go and have your sustainability team on our listserv, so we know who to reach out to and say, share opportunities as they come up. But it can be a person, it can be a position that you name, it can be the designee of the town council chair, what have you. And then it also says that you'll have a sustainability team that will meet within 90 days of passing the resolution. And that team can be an existing commission like the Clean Energy Task Force or other. It sounds do many different things. And it's really up to you, how you get work done in town. Any other questions?
You have this resolution in front of you.
No, I just know it.
There's one sentence that doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, okay.
It's the second resolve. I don't know if you want to see it. Last sentence, necessary to stand up a separate. That doesn't quite read right. It's like something's missing there.
I believe, David, that you wrote this a little bit.
I like that.
I don't want to throw you under the bus. Let's go and describe it.
We never make mistakes.
We'll figure what it is.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
We have any questions or discussion regarding the presentation? Mr. Solomon,
May I make the motion
certainly.
to the resolution supporting participation in the Sustainable CT Municipal Certification Program?
Are you going to adopt that resolution right now?
I was going to read it.
Oh,
I
okay,
can propose it.
okay.
We don't have to adopt it.
I mean, it's up to you. It wasn't intended on the agenda that it would be adopted, but
Okay, where sustainable CT fosters inclusive, resilient, and vibrant Connecticut municipalities that provide opportunities for all to thrive by providing a menu of sustainability actions that build local economies, support equity, and respect the finite capacity of the environment, offering technical assistance to help advance sustainability initiatives and recognizing and certifying municipalities for their achievements. Whereas sustainable CT is designed to boost local economies, help municipal operations become more efficient, reduce operating costs, and provide grants and additional support to municipalities. Whereas East Hampton embraces an ongoing process of working toward greater sustainability, selecting which actions it chooses to pursue from the voluntary menu of actions provided by Sustainable CT. Resolved that the East Hampton Town Council hereby authorize a member of the East Hampton Clean Energy Task Force to serve as East Hampton's Sustainable CT contact person for the Sustainable CT municipal certification process, and authorize this person to complete municipal registration on behalf of East Hampton. Resolved that to focus attention and effort within East Hampton on matters of sustainability and to promote East Hampton Town Council's local initiatives and actions towards sustainable CT municipal certification. East Hampton Town Council authorizes East Hampton Clean Energy Task Force to form a subcommittee to serve as the sustainability team until such time that it is deemed necessary to stand up a separate and dedicated sustainability task force. Resolved that the first meeting of the sustainable team will be held within 90 days of passing this resolution, and that the sustainable team should meet as frequently as needed, but no less than quarterly. Resolved that the sustainability team shall report annually to the East Hampton Town Council on the progress of its activities towards sustainable CT certification, with reports and presentations made publicly available.
That's a motion to,
Yeah, motion to adopt. And if we want to wait, maybe we can just table it, or we can go ahead if we want.
is there a second?
I will second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion regarding this? Anyone?
We just wanted to ask Russ again. Where's Russ? Russ.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You know, we read this and in here, it really tasks your task force to carry the ball with this. Is everybody on your team ready to go with this?
Our task force is very committed to the idea of sustainability and this program. It is our intention, though, to reach out to look beyond just our task force. But in the interim, we are prepared to kind of take the lead in that effort. But it really is bigger, and it should be bigger than just the clean energy aspect. I want to emphasize that. That's not an end all, that's the beginning.
Okay, I just wanted to
I apologize.
have you on record because that's what we're telling you you're going to be doing.
Right, and our task force is well aware of it. This is
Okay.
an action that the task force took to pursue
Okay.
sustainability and to take the lead on it. So that's.
All right. That's good. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I was trying to find that problem that you had, so my mind was elsewhere.
Russ, I actually have one more question, if you don't mind. So do you envision that in the future, we would need to set up a separate commission to oversee this?
I don't know.
Okay, but that's something you could let us know if you, okay.
But again, I would like it to be much broader, and I would love more citizen participation in such an effort. And it is a voluntary program. We can assess our situation, along the way. When we issue our, let's say, our annual report or something, it's a time to kind of discuss where are we? Where did we get to or not get to?
I'm gonna propose one amendment. In the first resolved, we need some language, I believe, in there that requires or the town manager or his designee to review and sign off on any of these form certifications or filings that are made. And one of the main reasons for that is they could be handling grants or town money. I want to make sure we're on top of that.
Did you craft that language?
Certainly.
Okay.
That's on the fly right now.
So should we table it until we get the revised?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
Well,
mo-
maybe Mr. Cox wants to comment on it. I don't know. Would you like to comment on it?
No,
No, okay.
no, I think that, you know, certainly sustainability and the concepts behind sustainable CT are appropriate and important for a community to talk about and take steps forward. I also agree that we ought to make sure that there's at least someone on staff that kind of knows what's going on. I suspect that the Clean Energy Task Force and whatever subcommittee they create to lead this effort will communicate with staff, because we're gonna be the source of a lot of what goes on here, along with many of the community groups that do things today. You know, from lake cleanups to trail cleanups to, you know, you name it. That's the thing that I think that many of you have observed. We do many of the things that we do.
Yeah. Thank you. The motion's tabled until the next meeting. Agenda item 6A, review and possible action or rejection of mowing services bid.
Chair, the council was asked to take a look at and the mowing bids that we received. And oddly, as you think about what was said by me at the Board of Finance meeting, and then when you read my memo to you, I'm actually asking you, Matt and I are asking you to reject all of these bids. When I spoke with the Board of Finance, I indicated to them that we had just opened these bids and that we believed that we could achieve some savings for the town, but perhaps more important, better services for the town at facilities like the town hall and at facilities like our cemeteries, if we went this route. I stand by that statement. However, I'm not sure it's the low bidder that has proposed for those two elements. We've had some difficulties communicating with them, and we have some uncertainty as to whether they can perform as they proposed. So as a matter of expediency for the town, we think it's appropriate to reject those two bids in particular. Additionally, as I pointed out, we don't think that in the long run, the community benefits or saves from using an outside service for mowing at the athletic fields and at the educational facilities. Primary reason for that is that in order to, if you will, afford that, we would need to cut a staff person. And that would, I think, be damaging to the town in other ways that we wouldn't make up with the savings that we would achieve. So we would recommend as a staff, reject all of those proposals. We'll go back and communicate with the 2 or 3 low proposers that seem responsible for the 2 areas that I talked about. We'll get quotes from them because we know that that price is within the amount as identified in the town's purchasing ordinance that can be done at a staff level, provided the funds are available in the budget. I again stand by what I said to the Board of Finance. There was an $11,000 cut to the town's budget related to grounds maintenance to accommodate this. We eliminated basically a part-time position, and we'll replace that activity with an outside firm that can provide those services. That's kind of the long run, but the short term is reject all of them.
Thank you.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Solomon to reject all the bids. in Municipal mowing. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the matter? If not, those in favor of rejection of all the bids, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Guys have it. Reject. The bids are rejected.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to excuse myself on this. Next part.
Lux,
I'll, if I may, and chief is here, I would invite the chief of police to come up. Dennis, handled the work on this, and so I'd like him to be able to present it to the council and answer any questions you have.
Good evening, thank you. Tonight before you, you have a bid for the towing maintenance repair for these vehicles. This bid is rebid every year, and every year we prepare packets of the total material that you have before you and either hand deliver them or mail them to every repair facility in town. This year, the only person that submitted a bid was Belltown Motors. And in reviewing Belltown Motors' bid from last year, because they won it last year, quite frankly, they've won it every year since I've been here. But they basically went up, the hourly rate went up from 107 to 112. So a minor increase in that, and a minor increase in their storage facilities, which really don't impact the police department, and $1 increase for the destruction of tires or disposal of tires. We've been very happy with Belltown Motors. They do our 24-hour 365 towing as well as the maintenance on our fleet. The contract states that we get priority, so if a car breaks, we bring it down there and they immediately fix it. They've just recently completed a major overhaul of one of our vehicles. They replaced the engine, the transmission, and the seat. I actually went down there to see what they were doing, and when they took the car apart, you could like stand underneath it and look up and see the sky. It was pretty amazing. But anyway, very happy with Belltown Motors, the services that they provide us, and I would recommend and ask that you approve the contract for one more edition.
Move to approve the contract.
motion to approve the contract. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Now, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The contract is approved. Chief,
Someone retreat, Tim.
pardon?
Can someone retreat? Okay.
Just wanted to mention one thing. This evening, you had the pleasure of promoting a sergeant to the position of Lieutenant Hardy Bergen. And I got to view and see that process, and we're very pleased with what's happening with the department. And it seems to be a very good move.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Agenda item 7, proclamations of Lions Club Choose Kindness Week.
Do we have someone here?
We have a representative
Okay,
from the
I'm here.
Lions.
I have here a proclamation for Choose Kindness Week. Whereas Lions Club International and Lions Quest are proud founding members of the Choose Kindness Project, which is a coalition of nonprofit organizations dedicated to bullying prevention, international inclusion, and youth mental wellness. And whereas locally, the East Hampton Lions Club is sponsoring Choose Kindness Week, which began as a simple one-day program in the school system that has blossomed into a week-long program expanded to include other organizations, town departments and commissions, businesses, and others. And whereas during Choose Kindness Week, students, community members, businesses, and organizations will demonstrate kindness through deliberate actions, purposeful sharing, and other international acts of kindness. Now therefore, we, the East Hampton Town Council, on behalf of the citizens of East Hampton, do
hereby proclaim April 15th, 2024 through April 19th, 2024 as Choose Kindness Week and encourage all citizens of East Hampton join in and choose kindness in their own way.
I'm representing the East Hampton Lions Club. I can't thank the town council enough for this proclamation, in your support and all the fundraisers and all the stuff the Lions Club does. This community does a wonderful job of supporting us and all the volunteer organizations in the town. So thank you so much. If you still want to get involved in the Kindness Week, which is next week, if you're a business, you can contact Mary Crow. She would be glad to point you in the right direction. And if you want to get involved on a personal level, just go to the library and check in down there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8A, subcommittee reports and updates. Does anyone have a update or?
Board of Ed, identified and hired their new superintendent last week. So I wanted to welcome Dr. Van Tassel to the East Hampton family. Welcome back, I guess. He was an assistant superintendent here previously. The Board of Ed did a great job through that whole process, and it was, I think it'll be a good move for the town with Dr. Van Tassel at the public schools.
Thank you. Is there any other reports? If not, move on to 8B, discussion regarding the protection of the Lake Pocatapog watershed area.
I'll start.
Councilman Warmer, would you like to start?
Sure. I have a brief statement prepared. Until I moved to East Hampton, I really wasn't overly familiar with Lake Pocatapog or just in general, the idea of lake health. But in the decades since then, I've learned a lot more than I ever would have imagined. Most of what I learned initially was through conversations with the residents that I first encountered in East Hampton, many of whom are now my friends and neighbors. It was through those conversations that I heard terms such as the jewel of East Hampton, our most important resource, and that Lake Pocatapog is what keeps or puts and keeps East Hampton on the map. I heard a lot of that sort of thing back then, and I hear that nearly daily still today. So I was rather surprised all those years ago when I learned about the lake issues, the lake health issues, and the watershed problems here. And the algae blooms specifically meant that one of my own kids would never be able to enjoy the lake that so many of the residents do. Until last year, I assumed most of the problem was the property owners around the lake, but I know more now than I did then. So that is not the case. All the properties in the watershed, which stretches throughout more of East Hampton than I ever would have thought previously, impact the lake through runoff and erosion. And the contents of the soil, thousands of feet from the lake, can create health risks for residents and wildlife, and detract from the overall appeal of East Hampton in terms of tourism and income potential because of the town's jewel. Moreover, negligent property owners and developers cost each of us our tax dollars as we are left to pay the cost of repairing the damage. In the past few years, decades, the Lake Commission, Friends of the Lake, and the town have poured hundreds of thousands of dollars and uncountable work hours into the lake for aeration, phosphorus reduction, dredging, and other restorative activities. And when we are unable or unwilling to step in to protect our most important resource, we are subsidizing those whose actions are poisoning the water. Now, this body, the town council, may not hold the authority to unilaterally halt activities or hold account to the people or the groups contributing to the damage. But I believe we have a responsibility to stand up and demand that appropriate action be taken by those who hold the regulatory power. I am happy to know that stop orders were issued, but as I understand it, as of yesterday and this morning, those stop orders are being ignored. And until we address the reality that allows these violations to occur,
we're always going to be playing from behind. It is my hope that this body, along with our land use commissions, planning and zoning, inland wetlands and water courses, that we can find a way forward that protects all of East Hampton's watershed areas and our most valuable resources, which are our residents. So to that end, I move that the town council encourage the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency to place a one-year moratorium on all applications for multi-structure development, clear-cut, or forest harvest activities within the Lake Pocatipog watershed, so that the town council, Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, along with other land use commissions, can jointly review the existing regulations, policies, and procedures, and determine if any alterations are appropriate to ensure that adequate and proper enforcement measures are in place.
I second that motion. I second that motion.
Yes.
And it was,
Is there any discussion or comment regarding the motion?
I just have one question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
What would this do to anything that is already, I guess for lack of a pre-approved, that's going on as today? That's not gonna stop that.
As I understand it, it wouldn't stop something already permitted
Okay,
unless
that's
there
what
was some violation.
Okay,
of-
it will stop anything from here on. Okay.
May I just add to that response? You're right, it wouldn't stop anything that had already been approved. It would prevent something that had not had an application whenever a
Okay.
moratorium was in place. It would stop something for which there was not an application received. And unfortunately, sometimes that becomes a bit of a race between any given municipality and those who want to do something in the community. But just so you know, that's how it would be. Now, we will continue as a staff to pursue the actions that you all have talked about this evening, the stop work orders, the reviews that have been requested by the Inland Wetlands Agency, the activities that we've undertaken here in this subdivision to try and improve that situation as best we can. We'll continue to pursue those with the courts or the town attorney as we've begun to include into that activity with respect to the Lakewood property as necessary. So we'll continue to pursue those to make sure that, if you will, we in the lake prevail. So, but in the future, a moratorium would impact.
David, regarding the setting up the joint meeting, would you just comment about that for a moment?
Certainly, we've asked the members of the Inland Wetlands Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Conservation Lake Commission to join the town council in a joint meeting. We've offered 2 dates to those bodies, and we're in the process of figuring out what that date's going to be. We put a Saturday morning meeting on April 20th. How about April 20th out into the world, and a Thursday evening meeting on May 2. And we're getting those responses back from them now. We hope to have that set here in the next couple of days. Thankfully, everybody's been responding pretty quickly. The goal of that meeting, of course, the town council will drive the details, but I think the general goal of that meeting is to talk about some of the things that Council Member Wilma talked about this evening, and really make sure that we start that process of what do our regulations look like. Are they doing what we want them to do? Are there changes that we could make? Is there enforcement changes that we should make, et cetera, et cetera?
Thank you.
A meeting of the minds.
Anyone else? We have a motion made and seconded before us. There's no further discussion. I'll try your minds. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Solomon. What kept you?
We have some immediate lake contamination and potential lake contamination problems. But for many, many years, every development in the watershed of Lake Pocatello has resulted in lake contamination, usually a brown or black color near a stream coming into the lake. It has happened several times in the years I've been here. Each of these events leads to pollution of the lake, causes algae blooms, and results in problems for years. I'd like to focus on what we can do. Many times in recent years, we've been told all the things we cannot do to make the lake better. Let's focus on what we can and should do. Some of the questions to consider. Does East Hampton, IWWA, Planning and Zoning Lake Commission, have to change the regulation? Towns in Connecticut use the Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control. These guidelines are very specific and should be effective in protecting our lake. Are there other regulations required to ensure that our lake is not contaminated? Does East Hampton have to change the way our regulatory bodies, IWWA and Planning and Zoning work? Do we have to ensure that they have enough time to do the work right? Do we have to ensure that they have enough technical resources to analyze the project and figure out how to ensure that the lake won't be impacted? Does the East Hampton town have to change its work processes and procedures so that the permits and other notices are properly handled? Does East Hampton have to change its enforcement procedures so that developers respect the regulations and do not violate? I don't know the answers to any of these questions. However, if we don't address them and come up with answers that are good for the lake, in a few years, we have lake contamination from another development. At the last meeting, and we just talked about a proposed joint meeting of IWWA, Planning and Zoning, and the Conservation Lake Commission and the Town Council. In preparation for that meeting, I propose the following. Move that the East Hampton Town Council requests that IWWA study the wetlands regulations and enforcement of them and recommend changes required to improve the ability of IWWA and the town to prevent contamination of Lake Pocatello. Planning and Zoning Commission study their regulations and enforcement of their actions and recommend changes required to improve the ability of planning and zoning and the town to prevent contamination of Lake Pocatello. 3, the Conservation Lake Commission should study the town regulations and enforcement and recommend changes required to prevent contamination of Lake Pocatello. East Hampton Town staff should be asked to study the various boards, commissions, and operations affecting Lake Pocatello, including the enforcement of permits and other matters, and recommend changes required to prevent the contamination of Lake Pocatello.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any comments or discussion regarding what is presented? I would just like to add one item to that. Okay. Not that we do it at this time, but I think if we are changing a number of these regulations, and I would suggest for the town's benefit that we possibly retain legal counsel with a particular expertise in land use and land use regulations. And we have the ability to do that certainly as time goes along, but I would not like to change the regs without having someone with some expertise in that area take a look at these things. Is there any other comments or discussion? If not,
You were adding, are you changing the motion, recommending?
possible engaging the legal counsel.
Okay, so a 5, that East Hampton Town retain legal counsel on
As
land
ne-
use regulation
as necessary.
as necessary. Okay, yeah. I'll accept that.
Hearing no further discussion, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
Just remember, it isn't gonna happen in a day or 2 days, or maybe not even in 6 months, but it will happen.
The journey starts with the single
Step. I've heard that. Under new business, discussion and possible action regarding 2024-2025 schedule of fees and charges.
The town council has a policy, the town has a policy to periodically, annually, as part of the budget, at around the time of the budget preparation process, review the various fees and charges that accompany services from the town. What you have in front of you is the proposed list for July 1, 2024 through the balance of the fiscal year. I have in that item identified with the yellow highlights any item that is proposed to change from the previous year. Some of what's going on in terms of change is to make sure that we update related to changes in the town code. So you see some changes on the first page related to excavation fees and permit fees for opening of the road. Those have been modified somewhat and included in the proposed changes. We've also modified, I'm going to skip to the end and we'll come back to the proposed changes related to fire safety fees. But we've also modified slightly some of the fees related to the transfer station. For example, one of the things that you'll notice that was not previously identified as a charge is the non-resident disposal permit fee. We have always provided that a commercial entity, or we have recently provided that a commercial entity who is performing services for a town resident or at a town residence has the ability to use the dump as a disposal site. They have limited time frame that they can do that. They have to get almost a specific permit for the job. They get about a 10-day permit. We never identified a fee for that, so there is a proposed fee for that. It's the same rate that we would charge a resident for their annual services. You'll recall that we pay residents $10 to use the transfer station. So that's been implemented. That has to do a little bit with the changes in those regulations that were previously adopted by the council last summer. Additionally, we modified some of those fees just a little bit because they seem to be starting to lag behind as well in terms of what a collector should pay for licensing their vehicles. The other thing on that last page I'll mention is the update to the private duty fee that is charged when contractors hire police officers to do work. So that fee has been updated for the council's benefit and the public that's here. That fee is calculated based on what the town's overall cost is. We of course have to pay the officers' salary. We have to pay their health insurance, their benefits, and everything else that goes with it. That fee is designed to cover those costs without any payment by the taxpayers. Additionally, some years ago, we modified the rate for vehicles. As we talk a little bit about the budget later, you'll see where this comes into play. We modified the rate for vehicles to really reflect what it costs to have a car idling for an hour or 8 hours or whatever the shift is. So those dollars have become much more significant for the town and really are beneficial in terms of replacing our vehicles and maintaining them. What I want to come back to is the fire safety permit fees. You'll see that we don't charge any of that right now. What this relates to is a business who is going to be undertaking construction at their property. Not only do they have to come in and get a building permit for the structure of their building, but they also are being asked, this identifies, they're being asked to pay a fee for the work that the fire marshal does in reviewing for fire safety. It's not something that's done by the building official, that's handled by the fire marshal's office. So they review all of those plans for how well they meet the fire safety code. That could be distances from work areas to exits, or various other types of protections, whether it's wall structure to delineate different kinds of uses for fire separation, et cetera. Additionally, we're asking that the council consider fees related, again, specifically to fire safety codes for when a building is being modified or being constructed with a new fire alarm system. Again, something that the fire marshal has to not only review as part of the plans, but also has to do on-site inspections. Similarly, sprinkler systems, hood systems, anything that relates to the fire safety code, you see that myriad of proposed charges there. Again, as I said, this is a user fee that has heretofore been essentially covered through tax dollars. The proposal is to begin to identify, or rather to begin to pay those costs by the user who's generating them.
Thank you. What's the estimated fiscal impact for the town?
You know, to be honest with you, we haven't gone through and evaluated that in terms of what would that add to the budget. It really will be completely dependent on how often those things are going on. You can imagine we don't get a lot of big businesses that have to do major sprinkler systems and those sorts of things. I think what you're going to see more often are those smaller numbers related to hoods in restaurants as they're expanding, changing, and having to put new hoods. One of the things I think it's important about this is that the public safety inspections that go on through that office as well. So the annual inspections of restaurant kitchens, the annual inspections of multifamily structures and those sorts of things, there is no charge for that. That is a fee that we choose to bear as taxpayers or through the taxpaying side of the business, if you will, because that's an appropriate public safety activity. So all of those inspections are not covered. Anytime there's someone coming in and doing a construction change is what we're doing.
Are there any questions regarding the fees at the town manager? If not, entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the fees as proposed.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion on the matter? If not, those in favor of approving the fee schedule signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get the first meeting notified.
Thank you.
Under item 9B, review, discussion, and possible action on Board of Finance recommended fiscal year 2024, 2025 General Government Board of Education debt service and capital improvement budgets. First of all, there's not going to be any action tonight. I'm just going to go down briefly what was sent to us by the approval by the Board of Finance. In their meeting last Wednesday, they passed the budget almost identical to what the town manager had forwarded and sent to them, with just a couple changes. The one major change was they eliminated or reduced, I guess it's both, reduced and eliminated the funding for the ambulance corps of $173,910. Now, the discussion that followed at that regarding that item, the majority members of the Board of Finance were not opposed to reconsidering or looking at that funding at some point, even as much as right today. But they wanted us, the council, and they felt that we were the jurisdiction of first position to present with agreement of the various parties a plan for the next 5 years for the operation of the ambulance association and the ambulance service. Where in looking this over, I do not think we have enough time to really pull that kind of a plan together in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks during the budget process. What I'm going to do is put a task force, or for lack of a better term, together to go through the entire ambulance service situation, the funding, and bring that back to the town and the various boards. If funding is needed, we will consider a special appropriation later in the fall. The Ambulance Association, if you look at their financial statements, does have sufficient cash reserves where it's not going to impact them immediately, and we will get a plan put together that works for the town. That's about all I have to say about the budget at this time, other than thank the Board of Finance for the good job they did. And the only comment I heard, and I just want to dispel the issue, there were concerns about cutting $359,000 out of the Board of Ed budget. And I just want everyone to know that those cuts were the recommendation of the Board of Education and the superintendent. They brought those forward to the Board of Finance before the board began acting on their budget. So there's no hardship or issue there on the part of the concern by the Board of Education. Unless somebody has any other comments, we are going to have the Public Works Director and the Chief of Police at our next meeting to talk about their budgets. And those are two of the areas with most concern and the most issues going on. Moving on. 9C, discussion and possible action regarding police chief contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This evening, I'd like the council to consider essentially how it wishes to proceed with the police chief's contract. There are a few employees in the town who have individual contract employment or employment contracts, really. Over time, most of those have been allowed to expire, and those employees are now working for the town, if you will, just like any other employee. They are subject to the employee handbook. They are subject to all the regular rules of participation in health insurance and vacation and all of those things, just like everyone else. So in my tenure here, I have slowly been moving people off of contracts and, if you will, to just the standard employment relationship. The chief of police contract, however, is different. The chief of police contract includes, which by the way, I will mention, expires at the end essentially of this month, the 23rd. It includes a provision that says, unless there is an agreement reached between the chief and the town council to extend that contract, he agrees that he resigns his position voluntarily on the 23rd of April. I would rather that not be the case. I think the community would rather that not be the case. What I would like the council to consider is a motion that would authorize the chief of police's continued employment after the expiration of his employment agreement, under the same terms as any regular employee. However, there's a catch. Chiefs of police, like other regulators in municipalities, have a specific provision under state law that indicates that they may only be removed for cause. That's effectively what that particular clause in his agreement got around. So I want the council to, with its eyes wide open, understand that if we decide to not extend his agreement and allow him to move along without an agreement. If we have, I'm not even gonna say that, he can only be removed for cause. I don't have a problem with that. I hope the council doesn't have a problem with that. I hope the community doesn't have a problem. I think that's an appropriate way to have a relationship with, under the state law, chief of police. But I need you to know that, I need you to understand that, before you take an action, because if you want to maintain an employment agreement, then I would ask you to extend it for some period of time. But if you're willing to take my recommendation and allow his contract to expire and authorize that he can continue to work for the town of East Hampton, if you will, as a regular employee, then I would ask you to do that.
Any questions? I'll make that motion. I don't know.
You would make the motion to authorize the chief of police's continued employment after the expiration of his employment agreement.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any questions?
Does the chief want to be here? Yes, I think.
Okay.
Just one clarification, because I had the question, had asked Dave earlier. This is relating to the current contract with the current chief. In the future, if he left and we had a new chief, we could set this up again.
Absolutely.
This is just pertaining to our current chief.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion or questions? All set. Those in favor of the amendment or the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Change is adopted.
Thank you very much. Will affect that change at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
Town managers report.
Thank you. There are areas, rather, as always, written report included in the town council's packet and on the town manager section of the town's website. I would highlight three things that I think are appropriate for the community to know. One, my favorite topic is the Wappawag and road culvert. That continues to move ahead. We're days away from that contractor being on site. We've met with them a couple of times there, for those of you in the construction industry, preparing their shop drawings and various other details that they have to get to us before they actually stick, so to speak, a shovel in the ground. But those are getting, those are nearly complete. They have identified a source of a particular pipe that they needed that we thought they might have a challenge getting, but they've gotten that. And so they have that on order and should be on site shortly. So we should see, residents in that area should see that contractor there soon, within the next week or so, I hope, to begin the excavation process. The first task that they have to undertake is related to dewatering. So they will be digging on the north side, if I understood the plans correctly. They'll be digging on the north side of the failed crossing, opening up the stream bank on that side and installing essentially a bypass system to allow the stream water to flow around what will ultimately become their work site. They'll be installing various kinds of cofferdams to prevent the water from encroaching into their site, as well as installing dewater. There will be pumping activity going on. They have guaranteed to us, if you will, that they'll get the quietest pumps that they can get, and they'll do what they can to deaden the sound. But while this project is being undertaken, there will be an effort to make sure that no water encroaches inside, because of course that will have an impact on the construction project. Remember that the town has already acquired the box culvert that goes in here. So once they've installed that dewatering system, they'll remove the rest of the damaged culvert and parts that are to be removed and replaced. The new box culvert is in the possession of the town, so that'll be delivered to the site and installed. They have up to 60 days to do that, so we'll probably be looking at sometime just after the Memorial Day holiday that road will be finally back open and functioning. The other two things I want to mention really relate to internal promotions that have taken place in the organization. One identified in there is in the WPCA joint facilities, so that's the water pollution control facility and the wastewater treatment plant. Paul Soretta, who's been an employee of the town for 7 years or so, was recently promoted to superintendent of that plant. He completed all of the licensing activities that he needed to undertake and has been a good employee for us, a very good employee for us. And we're proud to be able to promote him to that new position. The interesting thing about that particular position is that now, effective when we finalize that change, it is his license that the plant will operate under. So in our system, that's how that works. The Public Utilities Administrator, Scott Clayton, who many of you know, will be able to, it will not be his license anymore that's operating the plant, it'll be Paul Soretta. So that's a big step for Paul, and it's a big kudos to him for achieving that. The other thing I want to mention is that earlier this evening, we officially promoted Sergeant Hardy Bergen to the position of lieutenant in the police department. As I said in my comments at that event, certainly well deserved. Hardy's been an excellent employee of the town for quite some time, and an excellent part of the command staff and the overall management group of the department. And so it is not surprising that he certainly was eligible and appropriate appointment there. So effective yesterday, Hardy Bergen is a lieutenant in the police department now. Congratulations to him. Otherwise, the rest of my comments are found in the written report. And if you have questions, I'll put them in the next.
Questions, comments?
Few comments. I just wanted to thank the Police Department and Ambulance Association for their response and cooperation in last week's event. The unfortunate event behind the Atlantis property. It's just one of the things about having a local ambulance association that we can have a good response to something like that. And I'm appreciative of the work with cooperation between the department. Second, I had an opportunity to meet with East Hampton's prevention coordinator last week, and I just want to say we have a real good opportunity to serve the young people of East Hampton with Brooke and Roxanne leading that department. So they've got some good programming coming in. That was a good job.
Great.
Anyone else? Moving on, appointments. Councilman Noddick.
Chairman, yes, we have a number of appointments to make. Very good, willing, capable, and interested citizens to fill 7 positions on commissions. We'll start with a reappointment of Jamie Krasnitsky to the Library Advisory Board for the term ending December 31st, 26.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to reappoint Jamie Krasnitsky to the Library Board. Any discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Carried.
Is to appoint Kathleen K. Monroe to the Clean Energy Task Force, term ending December 31st, 2025.
Second.
Motion seconded. Is there any discussion? Any questions? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Ann McLaughlin to the Town Cemetery Board, the term ending April 30th, 28.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Ann McLaughlin to the Cemetery Board. Is there any discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, carried. Appointed.
I also move to appoint Don McLaughlin to the Town Cemetery Board for the term ending April 30, 28.
Do you want to second the rest of that?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Donna McLaughlin to the Cemetery Board. No discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Let's have it carried.
This
Appointed.
next appointment, is for Sally, Parker. We'll be, moving to appoint her to two boards, this evening. The frequency of board meetings of those commission and, meetings, will allow her service on both reasonably. So the motion is to appoint, Sally to the, Town Cemetery Board for term ending April 30, 2028, and to the Design Review Board for the term ending June 30, 25. I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding the appointment of Sally Parker to both the Cemetery Board and Design Review Board? Not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, carried, appointed.
Chairman, I move the appointment of Mark Kimball to the Clean Energy Task Force, the term ending December 31st, 2025.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Mark Kimball to the Clean Energy Task Force. Is there any discussion? Questions? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried, appointed.
In attendance tonight, I move we appoint Mark Cunningham to the alternate position on the Commission on Aging for term ending December 31st, 2025.
Second.
I so move.
Do we have a conflict here?
No, I'm old enough to make that, though.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
You want to say? I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Appointed. Thank you. Tax refunds.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to return $228.84 to the proper owner in this lovely town of East Hampton.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Public remarks. Is there anyone who would wish to make public remarks at this time?
Bob Yanker, 83 Spelman Point Road in Stanton. Thank you to the town council for the decisions you made tonight, the resolutions that have passed here tonight. They're sorely overdue. And I'm glad to see that Councilman Worley is stepping up to the plate, and you're going to be my new best friend, by the way.
Oh, boy.
We're spending a lot of time together. Jack knows about that pain, so. I'd just like to make two quick points to keep in front of the council. Is the inland waterways and whatever the last term is, the IWWA and the planning and zoning empowered to enforce the rules or not? The discussions we've had over the last few weeks with them seems to be an aversion to taking the authority. And the answer is, if we go to East Hampton regulations, section 14.3 states specifically, if the agency or its designated agent find that any person is conducting or maintaining any activity, facility, or condition which is in violation of the act or these regulations, the agency or its duly authorized agent may issue written order, etc. In other words, it states very clearly in our existing regulations, those organizations have the authority. If they don't have an enforcement officer, which is often thrown up as an excuse, it says right here, they can, as a body, fill that role. So I would urge the town council to have that conversation with the inland waters people and the planning and zoning and say they have the legal right to enforce it. The second point I want to make is that we've got regulations in place, gentlemen. I've looked at them a couple ways from Sunday. They're not perfect, I grant you that. But they are the regulations, and they need to be adhered to by everyone. They need to be adhered to and enforced.
no exceptions. If we've got a building that's outside the rules, outside the guidelines and the regulations in the state of the town, we need to enforce them. That can be done by the two bodies or by the town council, I would think at the very least. But this total flagrant disregard for our regulations can't be tolerated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment at this time?
Chuck Yanker, 65 Spelman Point Road. I'm also chairman of the Lake Commission. Just 2 quick points for you. First of all, this with the reservation or the resolutions, there's a lot of work to be done there. And some of that work is going to involve attorneys and consultants and whatnot. So I would urge you to take some consideration of how that's going to be financed, where that's going to be in the budget. I'd hate to get down the road and say, okay, yeah, this is all great, but we don't finance it.
Lakefront property owners, Chuck.
Another brick on the load. And then the last thing, I'd just like to correct Mr. Markham, if I might. Those Board of Ed cuts are not cuts. That's a reduction of the amount of increase. Let's be clear about this. Okay? Sorry.
I blame the Board of Finance.
Last meeting of board, they blamed the Lake or the Planning and Zoning Commission. This time it's the Board of Finance.
That's
your
my prerogative and privilege. Thank you.
Are we supposed to escort them out if they climb?
I think
This is Justin Kelly from 31 Lakewood. I actually had a kind of closing statement I wanted to make, and I don't think I need it anymore.
that's good.
And thank you. As a new resident and person here, you know, I could not be more proud of my city council for the things I heard today. So again, thank you. The only thing I want to do is say that I promise to have your back, and so I'm having a quick turnaround. I want to help. I yesterday was on the phone with Wyndham County State Representative Susan Johnson. I had the pleasure of making her acquaintance a while back, and she gave me a lot of advice. Some of the advice was and is putting me in contact with Irene Haynes, our state representative. And also she gave me a lawyer that they're currently using over in Wyndham County for a similar dispute and an issue with watersheds and lakes. So I would love to give you guys that info that I was going to bring to your attention today. And I don't think I need to use it. I think you guys need to use it. And I think I would love to connect you with her and try and see if that info. Also, the environmental scientist that I work with has worked with Coventry Lakes renovations and restorations. And I think he might be a good resource. So I want to make good on my promises to you guys that I said, if you have our back, we'll have yours. Well, here I am lining up 2 minutes later, ready to serve. So I want to try and get you guys whatever info. I know all the people in this room want to get you all that info, and they're going to support you. And thank you. The only leaving remarks I would like to leave is that kind of something that's forward in the back brought to my attention. We do have the 2 issues of Lakewood and the other one with the runoff here, I forget. Edgewater. And you guys did bring up, and the town manager did bring up that this is something that we should keep our focus on while trying to solve our future problems, but mediating our immediate problems. And I can't help but agree with one of my cohorts that if we do take too long, and of course a big ship is going to have a heavy wheel, it takes time to turn. If we do take too long on certain projects, the detriment might be too late. This one is already currently with Edgewater causing a problem, and we are just about to make a whole brand new one over on Lakewood. So that's the only mind's eye I wanted to leave with you as you go in this endeavor and have the support of your peers and your townspeople, is that there are certain actions that will need to be prioritized, and there are certain ways to go about them. And I would love to help in any way. And I'm sure everyone in this room would love to help in any way that they can. They have a lot of resources, they have a lot of contacts, they have a lot of knowledge, and be a darn shame for them to stand up here and say that they're willing to help and not. So here I am 2 minutes later to offer my help in any way I can. hopefully some of the points of contacts that we have will be of interest to the people of East Hampton and its town council.
I will point out, and you may have seen it, the chairman of the Inland Wetlands Water Courses Agency did respond to all the emails he received.
Love that.
And the note at the bottom was, and feel free to apply for the vacancies on inland wetlands.
I had a letter placed at my door 2 days ago, someone saying the same thing and thanks. I've had a lot of people say thanks, and I just got here, but I'm gonna be here forever. This is my forever home. This is what my wife and I, this is what we achieved. Actually, Jack, you might not know, but that's kind of your fault. I know that you and I've locked eyes about twice, trying to be like, how do we know each other? It's because you invited me into your home about 3 years ago, right before I rented and stayed on your lake and fell in love with my wife. And I remember riding back with you and you said something to me that changed me. And I was like, Jack, you know, I have to ask, how did you get all this and why? And it's like, well, Justin, you know how some people like to walk the dogs? This is how I walk the dogs. And I was like, oh my God, Jack, I left turkey in your fridge. You're like, don't worry about it. It's run by solar. I ended up getting a great opportunity in the solar industry. I ended up meeting the woman of my dreams, and I ended up moving back to the same lake. And I said, hey, when I get here, I'm gonna make this lake great. Didn't know how fast that was gonna happen. I had no idea it was gonna be the very next day. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to contribute. I'm happy to lend any resources and time I can. And I have a feeling if a couple more people ask, you'll see me sitting at that table, and I'd be more than happy to make sure that this lake, for me, my future, and all our future generations, is a great place to go and enjoy, because that day changed my life. I'd like to see it do it again for someone else. So thank you for all that. Please keep in mind, Zion, the issues that we have to put in, and you have my support in any way that you need it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would care to make public comment at this time? If not, communications, correspondence?
I'm sorry, I misheard you.
What did you say?
Please continue, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any non-debatable? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Oh.